Hello all sentient beings and welcome to Transmissions Alt Mode, where we talk about all news, comics, and media related to the... On this marvelous episode of Transmissions Alt Mode, we review Transformers Bumblebee, Win If You Dare. Netflix is getting a brand new Transformers animated series, and the Transformers trading card game news keeps shuffling in. Today is Friday, February 22nd, 2019, and this is episode 117 of Transmissions Alt Mode.
Welcome to Transmissions Alt Mode, the podcast that's surely going to be picked up by Netflix soon. I'm your host Charles, aka Big C, and I'm joined by the excellent Transmissions team. Snazzy Mike, editor extraordinaire.
Taking the place of two people today.
And Jeremy, aka Yakko.
Hey, how you doing? Let's talk Transformers.
All right. We're here to talk Transformers comics and media. There's a lot of stuff to talk about because we've had a lot of announcements in the last week or so, all centered around Toy Fair, but not actually at Toy Fair. Pretty much all before Toy Fair, but lots of cool information. Again, we are without our good friends Yoshi and Daryl. But editor Mike is here to help us out. Thank you, Mike.
Always ready to pick up the slack from anyone, including you, Charles.
Well, we appreciate that, and I'm sure if we're even if we're not slacking, you can cut us out if we don't sound good. So.
Actually, I think you are the only person I have not subbed for. So good on you, Charles. Good on you.
That means I should take more vacation. That's what I'm hearing. All right. As always, we start off by thanking our Donatreons, those people who give us money to keep the show going. We are this week we have a returning Donatreon. He's been with us for a long time, and he's back. Dinobot Maximize. He is, again, a duly appointed supporter of the Transmissions podcast. So thank you, Dinobot, for returning to the fold. And it'll be like you never left. So thanks, and keep those checks coming. We are also, if you're not a Donatreon and you are unable or unwilling to support us monthly, you can just support us by buying stuff from our store at transmissionspodcast.com/shop. And that is a store powered by TeePublic. So if you buy anything from TeePublic through our link, you will give us a little kickback. Of course, we do have Transmissions themed shirts and other merchandise there. So if you want to rep the podcast, you can just buy some stuff.
To be clear, we won't actually be getting a kickback figure. We get a referral fee.
Wait, you didn't get the kickback figure?
No, which is weird because everything's in my name. I should have gotten it.
I've gotten like 3 of them so far. What's been going on?
I think you got all Jeremy's kickbacks, Mike.
I don't share the kickbacks.
But you deserve it anyway.
What are you saying? I deserve a kick in the back?
No.
Who's on first? All right, let's get into some comics news. All right, so we have more news out of Japan. So more comics, more of the classic G1 Marvel US comics are being transferred over to Japan. This is Hero X has announced that they have Volume 3 of their series of classic Marvel Transformers comics. Each volume is covering 4 issues, so I guess Volume 3 will cover issues 9 to 12. And you can see by the cover, we've got Jetfire and featured prominently, and this is the arc where Shockwave created Jetfire and still had Optimus Prime as a head in a jar and was taking the creation matrix from him to create new Decepticons. And Jetfire was later converted to an Autobot after he was given life, but this arc ends with issue 12, where issue 12 is where Optimus Prime finally gets his head back on his shoulders. Spoilers, sorry, if you haven't read those 35-year-old comics. This is, I think, these are the first time these are translated into Japanese. So if you are interested, if you are Japanese and have not had a chance to read the classic Marvel G1 comics, this is your opportunity. This new cover is drawn by artist Yoshiyuki Takani, who also drew the art for the home media release of Transformers the movie in Japan. So that's a cool image.
That's an amazing image. I want a print of that.
Yeah, this is very, very nice.
Yeah, I first saw this when Rob Springer posted, I think, on Instagram, just a picture of that, and I'm like, I want a copy of that without any of the text or anything. Just sell that as a print.
Yeah,
I could get behind that.
Takani-san, hit us up. I'm sure he's listening.
Yeah,
of course.
Okay, and more comics news on this side of the Pacific Ocean. IDW has announced that that Ectotron figure we talked about in the toy show, so the mashup of Ghostbusters and Transformers, that is getting its own 5-part miniseries comic written and drawn by the Ghostbusters comics crew at IDW. So the Ectotron origin story will be told in comic form. I'm a little sad we're not getting any Transformers creators involved in the comic story, but I hope that it's not just going to be a Transformer dropped in the Ghostbusters world, that we might get it to be like a proper crossover with the Ghostbusters interacting with some other Transformers, maybe? I don't know.
Well, I mean, I would say it's likely we'd probably see like Starscream's ghost show up.
Yeah, that would be cool. That if they don't do that, that's a real shame. They should really do that.
But I do think it's appropriate that the Ghostbusters creative team is on it, especially with the Transformers stuff is all basically new creators at this point. It would have been nice to see like former artists, on this, but being that it's a Ghostbuster Transformer, it's probably best that they do a lot of the heavy lifting.
Yeah, so that team is Eric Burnham, Dan Schoening, and Luis Antonio Delgado. So that's the creative team on the Ghostbusters series, and they're going to be handling this crossover. So,
is there an actual release date scheduled for this yet?
Just June is all we know.
Oh yeah,
just June.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah,
probably see solicits in a month or two.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, solicits are 3 months out, so I guess in the March solicits we should see the first issue of this crossover. All right, and lastly in comics news, we've got the first image of the new Transformers character in the new series. So this is the kind of point of view character, the newly created Cybertronian. His name is Rubble, and this image is from another cover. I think at least according to TFW, they say it's the who's the guy? Hernandez.
Angel Hernandez.
Yeah. If that's his cover, then we get our first taste of his art. But yeah, it's a nice little image. It's got Rubble in the foreground, and in, I guess, the moon, reflected in the moon, we've got Optimus Prime, Megatron, and Bumblebee. It's interesting. Rubble looks pretty generic there, so I'm wondering what he turns into. But
looks kind of like one of the little Target Master sized guys.
Yeah. Is he a weaponizer? But yeah, it's we're stretching here because we've just gotten not a lot of information about the new series. So until the first issue drops, we're still we're grasping at straws here. But it's coming soon. We've only got a few more weeks to wait. Hopefully, crossing fingers that Diamond doesn't delay the distribution. But,
he does have that very kind of like headmaster or target master kind of look to him, and like looking at his chest, it almost looks like it could be kind of a face of some kind. But he does feel like a a small character.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right. Well, we'll be left to speculate until the series starts. All right. So let's get into our comic review. So this week we are reviewing Transformers Bumblebee. You can win if you dare. This was the graphic novel that was produced at the end of last year to kind of tie in with the Bumblebee movie that was coming out. Although it doesn't really tie in at all. It's just a story centered on Bumblebee, which I'm fine with that. But it is a nice little self-contained G1-esque story. So that's cool. And I enjoyed it. So we're going to give it a quick review. There are no multiple covers. There's only one cover. This cover is... Oh, I guess I should just do the credits. This is written by James Asmus, art by Marcelo Ferreira and Attila Fabio, colors by Valentina Pinto, letters by Tom B. Long, cover art by Nicoletta Balderi, edits by David Marriott, Justin Eisinger, and Alonso Simon, design by Tom B. Long, and publisher Greg Goldstein. So, I mean, what did you think of this cover, Mike? It's a pretty stylized look. It kind of captures. You've got the Bumblebee like movie logo. You've got the masterpiece Bumblebee as a toy photo in there. You've got the classic G1 Bumblebee robot. I mean, it's kind of hitting all the, and you've got the nostalgia Transformers logo. So you got everything in this cover.
I really like the cover. It reminds me a little bit of those kind of minimalist covers that came out during what was the series All Hail Megatron.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always been a big fan of that style, so I do enjoy it. Yeah, it's refreshing to get a book that only has one cover now too. So
well, buckle up because the reboot's gonna have a ton.
Yeah, well, like I said, it's refreshing to see just a single one. I could probably have done without the stylized toy image, like in the top corner there. Mm-hmm. It just looks like someone took a picture of the original toy and just popped like a filter on top of it. It doesn't seem to fit as well. If they were going to do that, I wish they would have at the very least matched the color of the yellow to the kind of more golden yellow that's on the actual robot characters on the cover, but that's just me.
Yeah, that does kind of stand out. What about you, Jeremy? What do you think of this cover?
I like it for the most part. I agree with what Mike says about the vehicle mode. But other than that, I mean, I like the stained glass look, or kind of like futuristic stained glass. It's a nice image, and it kind of goes to those like stylized covers that I tend to go for. So, I think it's good.
Jeremy, were you a big fan of the those minimalist covers from All Hail Megatron as well?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
I actually, cool. I think it was by accident, but I got a book that they put out that just has all those covers. That's the contents of the book, and it's really cool.
Nice.
All right, well, let's get into the story. It's 1980-something. In the desert, a yellow Volkswagen Bug motors towards a dormant volcano. At the base of this volcano is a crashed spaceship. This is the Ark, the home base of the Autobots stranded on Earth. And the VW Bug is Bumblebee, Autobot scout returning from a test drive. As he enters the Ark, Bumblebee transforms to his robot mode, eager to show Optimus Prime and Ratchet that he's back in peak operating condition after he was recently damaged in battle with the Decepticons. Ratchet is pleased to see that Bumblebee's repairs are complete, but Optimus Prime is still concerned that Bumblebee hasn't learned his lesson about taking unnecessary risks. Bee protests that he's ready to get back into action, but Prime tells him to slow his roll. While he sends the other Autobots like Sideswipe and Windblade out on missions, Prime is following Ratchet's recommendation that Bumblebee needs to road test his repairs for a few hundred miles before he gets back into the field. Bee is disappointed, but as a consolation prize, Prime lets him do his road test in beautiful Yosemite National Park. As Bumblebee takes in the scenery, he contemplates his place in the Autobots and how he can prove his worth. As the sun sets, he notices some Earth vehicles approaching at high speed. Bee quickly transforms back to car mode so he won't be noticed. But as he drives down the road, the two cars speed past him, and one of them, a brown and purple Jeep, clips Bee's tail light. In the other car, a red pickup truck, the driver, a teen named Mateo, is concerned that their race is becoming a demolition derby. His fears are confirmed when the Jeep slams into his car too. Bumblebee catches up to the drag racers and orders them to slow down. Mateo gets distracted, thinking Bee might be a cop, and the Jeep uses his distraction to slam into Mateo's car again, forcing him off the road. Mateo loses control of his car and is about to drive off a cliff. He braces for the crash, but somehow he's stopped in midair. Bumblebee, acting quickly, has transformed to robot mode and grabbed the back of Mateo's truck, saving his life. Bee tells Mateo to climb into the truck's back so he can safely pull the truck back. Mateo is understandably shocked that the VW Bug has turned into a giant robot, but the fact that Bee is trying to save his life quickly earns his trust. Bee manages to pull the truck back from the edge and in the process makes a new friend. As they look around, the reckless Jeep has driven off out of sight. Luckily, the driver didn't see Bumblebee reveal his robot mode. Or did he? Bumblebee gives Mateo a ride back to his house and they get along pretty well. Bumblebee is impressed that Mateo's house has its own airfield and hangar. Mateo tells him that his mom is an aerospace engineer and she's got some advanced technology since she works for the military. That technology includes the sophisticated prosthetic arm and leg Mateo has to compensate for the fact that he was born with only one arm and one leg. But he hasn't had a chance to try out the advanced set he and his mom designed, since she's been working hard recently and hasn't had the time. Mateo asks Bumblebee to stay for the night in his garage and he'll get Bee's rear fender repaired. Bee agrees to hang out for a little while. Meanwhile, at a military base outside of town, Angela Cruz, Mateo's mom, shows off the project she's been working on to her military bosses, the B-2 stealth bomber. They've perfected technology to make the plane invisible to most radar and other long-range sensors. The brass is impressed and looking forward to a full demonstration on Sunday. Unbeknownst to Angela and everyone else, they're being watched by the Decepticon Swindle, who wants to capture the stealth technology for himself. As he finishes his observation, he transforms into his brown and purple Jeep mode and drives off to make plans. The next day, after Angela leaves for work and kisses her son goodbye, Mateo and Bee go for a drive to test Bee's latest repairs. As they drive through town, they make a plan to track down the dirty racer who ran Mateo off the road yesterday. Mateo suggests they go visit his friend Nicole, a mechanic who works in the local garage and might know where to find the mystery Jeep. They pull into Nicole's garage and Bee notices some chemistry between Mateo and Nicole. Bee plays RoboCupid and engineers a moment to get Nicole into the car with Mateo with some smooth music for atmosphere. Mateo is nervous but tries to play it cool. He's caught off guard when Nicole asks if he's going to the school dance tonight. Mateo declines and mentions he's too preoccupied with racing, in particular finding his nemesis in the brown and purple Jeep. Nicole is slightly disappointed, but still tells Mateo it's likely he can find the brown and purple Jeep out at Herman's Military Surplus Museum. As they drive over, Bumblebee pushes Mateo to come out of his shell and go to that dance with his friend. But Mateo counters back that Bumblebee's hiding out with him instead of facing his fellow Autobots because he doesn't think he's good enough. They table their argument for now because they've made it to Herman's. There's a lot of old military combat vehicles parked out front, and Bumblebee can't help but feel a little anxiety. Usually when he encounters military vehicles, they turn out to be Decepticons, but he dismisses his feelings as just being paranoid. What would the Decepticons be doing here anyway? Unfortunately for Bumblebee and Mateo, Bee's more right than he knows. Mateo calls out to find the proprietor of the museum. In the hangar, Herman turns out to be working with the Decepticon Swindle. Swindle stays hidden, but tells Herman to answer the kid and get rid of him. The man confronts Mateo and asks him what he wants. Mateo asks if he is the driver of the purple and brown Jeep he's been drag racing. Herman says he's not, and he's busy, so it's time for Mateo to go. But as Mateo looks around, he sees photos of his mom's secret stealth bomber project. He asks the guy how did he get these pictures. Meanwhile, outside, Bumblebee drives around the yard looking for the Jeep. He's surprised when Mateo comes running out of the hangar yelling that they have to go now. And right behind him, that brown and purple Jeep comes roaring out of the garage. Mateo manages to jump into Bee's front seat just before the Jeep hits him. Well, most of him. The Jeep hits and destroys his prosthetic leg. But otherwise, Mateo is unharmed. The Jeep drives out of the yard and speeds off. Mateo realizes there's much more going on here. The guy in the Jeep isn't just a jerk, he might be a spy or something, stealing military secrets. Bumblebee asks if they should stay and check out the hangar or follow the Jeep. Mateo decides they should follow the Jeep, and Bee is off to the races. Back at the military museum, Herman says out loud that they're gone. One of the military helicopters transforms into the Combaticon Vortex. Herman tells Vortex he needs to leave before the cops show up, but Vortex warns him to keep quiet. Out in the desert, Mateo and Bumblebee chase down the Jeep. After some arguments over who's really driving and a near miss with a speeding train, the Jeep gets away. After taunting Bumblebee and Mateo, the Jeep finally transforms and reveals itself to be the Combaticon Swindle. Swindle realizes that Bumblebee is out here alone without the other Autobots backing him up, and he gives him a final warning. Don't mess with his plans or he and his little human pet will be sorry. Later, Bumblebee and Mateo go back to his house to warn his mom, but she's not there. She left a note saying she'd be working late, but it's okay, she should be safe on the military base protected by security. Mateo asks Bee if they should call in the Autobots. Bumblebee tells him no, because Swindle is currently a fugitive on his own and not part of an all-out Decepticon offensive. Swindle is just a hustler who trades military secrets, and the stealth bomber should be protected until the test flight tomorrow. So in the meantime, Bee convinces Mateo to get dressed up and go to a school dance. Mateo is hesitant, especially after losing his prosthetic leg, but Bee helps him get the new high-tech prosthetics in his garage up and running, and Mateo reluctantly agrees. Meanwhile, out on the highway, Angela Cruz's car has just gotten 4 flat tires. She had finished her work on the bomber early and was driving home when someone put damage strips out on the road. She calls the base on her satellite phone to find out if this was from their security. But before she completes the call, a brown and purple Jeep drives up. The driver claims he's part of base security and apologizes for the damage to her car. He tells her to get in and he'll drive her home and call for a tow. Angela thanks the driver, but when she gets in the car, it's empty. The door slams shut behind her and she realizes she's been caught by a Decepticon. Swindle drives her back to Herman's military surplus and museum to meet his friends, the Combaticons. Swindle orders her to give him and the other Combaticons a stealth technology upgrade. Angela refuses, of course, but Onslaught points out that he's got Vortex hovering in helicopter mode above the school dance her son is at. Either she gives them the upgrades or her son pays the price. Meanwhile, at the dance, after some prodding from Bumblebee, Mateo finally goes inside. He meets up with Nicole and she pulls him onto the dance floor. Mateo is still super nervous, but Bumblebee's still there to help him out. He rigged Mateo's prosthetics so he can control them remotely and help Mateo pull off some awesome dance moves. After Mateo gets going, he and Nicole are the life of the party. But outside, Bumblebee notices the military helicopter just hovering above the school. He realizes that if it's who he thinks it is, then he's in more trouble than he thought. With 2 Combaticons in the area, the rest are probably here too. He definitely needs Autobot support. Bee makes a distress call back to Autobot HQ, but Vortex has already spotted him and is jamming the signal. Bumblebee quickly transforms and drives off, drawing Vortex after him. He radios Mateo to stay away and let him deal with this. But Mateo won't leave his friend in trouble and runs out after him. Nicole just sees his new VW Bug driving off and asks Mateo if someone is stealing his car. She offers to help him give chase in her muscle car, and they're off. She even lets him drive. Bumblebee drives towards the military base, hoping the humans have enough firepower to deal with Vortex chasing him. And back at the museum, Angela sees everything going on with the live video feed from Vortex. She uses the Combaticons' confusion with Vortex going off script as a distraction to escape. She gets into one of the planes and takes off, flying toward the military base. The Combaticons give chase. In the air, Angela radios the military that she's got Decepticons in hot pursuit, and they need a full force response. But the military isn't prepared for a Decepticon assault, since they're only at ceremonial readiness in preparation for the stealth bomber test tomorrow. Nevertheless, the humans get their butts in gear to confront the Combaticons. In pursuit, Onslaught orders Vortex to shoot down Angela's plane, but don't kill her, since they still need her and her engineering secrets alive. Vortex disables the plane, and Angela parachutes out to land inside the military base's walls. She immediately orders the troops to get ready for a Decepticon attack. B confronts all 5 Combaticons as they assemble on the scene. Finally, Onslaught realizes they have one option left, brute force, and the Combaticons merge to form Bruticus. The humans try to fight back, but their firepower is no match for the giant combiner. Bumblebee is also at a loss since he's just one Autobot against the Gestalt. Just then, Mateo and Nicole drive up to see if B is okay. After a pep talk from Mateo, B finally realizes he can fight back, but not by meeting the danger head on, but by using his own strength to full effect. B transforms to car mode and drives around Bruticus, distracting him. Bruticus is strong, but slow and dumb. B quickly confuses him enough that he trips and falls, and he uses his diversion to reach Angela and drive her out of harm's way. Bruticus gets increasingly frustrated at losing his target and finally realizes they might need to split up again to catch their prey. The 5 Combaticons separate and continue their assault. Just then, Bumblebee calls Vortex on the comm signal he hijacked. Onslaught asks Vortex if he can trace the signal, but he can't. And B gives them an earful of Autobot speechifying about the power of teamwork, which of course the Decepticons hate. But that was just another distraction, as Bumblebee has teamed up with Angela flying the stealth bomber. Perched on the bomber's wing, B watches in delight as they drop a bunch of bombs on the Combaticons, stunning them. Finally, B delivers the coup de grace, an EMP that knocks them all out for the count. Later, Bumblebee finally calls in the cavalry, and the other Autobots take the Combaticons into custody. B apologizes to Optimus Prime for his reckless behavior, and Prime is very understanding. He even lets B spend a little more time with his new human friends. Mateo and Bumblebee drive off for a rematch race to see who's the better driver. And that is the end of Bumblebee. You can win if you dare. So I really enjoyed this nice little story. Since it is a graphic novel, it's actually about 60 pages, so it's the size of 3 regular comics. So it's a nice meaty story. It is a pretty personal Bumblebee story. I like having the Combaticons as the villains here, and particularly Swendel being this kind of jerk drag racer. I like that. I thought everything really came together well. It was also interesting because they produced this graphic novel and then produced a prequel to it that we reviewed earlier. I thought this book worked a lot better than the prequel, actually. But it's nice to have go back to the 80s and a little bit of G1 classic Transformers. Although it's still a bit weird to see Windblade in there, although she's only in one panel, so it's not too bad. But I just thought it was a fun little book. So Mike, what did you think of this story?
Certainly a longer issue than the typical stuff we end up reviewing on here. But I mean, I guess like you said, it's a graphic novel, so it's kind of expected to have a bit more like meat to it. Mm-hmm. So as far as the story goes, nothing really, no real criticisms of it. Nothing really great about it. It's an interesting little story. I will say the art is fairly good. I do like the art. I dislike Bumblebee's face. Not to make it sound that bad, but yeah, his face certainly does look a little, I don't know, just a little like weird. Like his mouth is like too wide, if that makes any sense.
It's overexpressive.
Yeah. And you know what? I'm actually okay with that on the humans, on people. but I don't know, on a robot, it just kind of seems a bit weird. And can I just say, why is this? How can you just take a stealth bomber, even though it's a prototype? How can you just take that and it's like, all right, let me just go ahead and take this for a joyride. I'm good with this. What the hell?
It was the 80s.
That justifies nothing. This really did feel an awful lot like one of the cartoon episodes, just kind of in comic form, including all of the weirdness of an actual episode. I do like that they actually limited the number of characters in there, so you have B against the Combaticons. They could have done this huge battle scene, like they did on the prequel, where there's just a ton of Autobots and a ton of Decepticons. And I really like they made the choice that they kept the cast a lot smaller. That's nice. Artwork is, for the most part, pretty good. A couple of weird plot points here and there, but no big issues in that. So overall, I'd give it a B.
Cool. Yeah, I agree with you on Bumblebee's face. That's really my only problem with the art in this book. Weirdly, all the other robots' faces look fine, so I don't know why Bumblebee's face looks so weird compared to everyone else. I mean, of course, the Combaticons, they're all pretty much like faceplates and visors, so there's not a lot to do there. But Swindle looks pretty good. He doesn't have weird expressions like the other guys, or like Bumblebee, I should say. Jeremy, what did you think of the story and the art?
I enjoyed it. I also had the same problem. Bumblebee's face was pretty much my biggest issue with the art. I liked the story. It was a fun, simple story, and I liked the human characters they introduced, and having the human that Bumblebee most interacts with also having the disability, but overcoming it with this prosthesis that his mom helps him make. I thought that was a nice point. And, I wouldn't mind seeing these characters or versions of these characters in the future. I thought this was, as a one-shot, which we didn't realize we were getting a prequel for, I thought this was a very enjoyable story. It kind of has that feel that I got with the Bumblebee movie, where limited characters, lots of heart. So, I would like to see more kind of one-offs in their own continuity, things like this, where they can kind of explore a little bit and have a little bit more fun without being bogged down by a lot of the, years of continuity that will have built up. Just give us fun stories that do feel like episodes of the cartoon or something like that.
All right. Yeah, the one other thing I really liked about this story is that the Combaticons really used that whole robots in disguise thing to good effect. So
yeah, definitely.
I liked that they actually were, they hid out in a military museum. Swindle likes to drag race in his spare time. Yeah, it was cool. All right, well, that is our comic review for this week. So let's move on to Transformers media news.
Media news this week. We have a lot from Toy Fair, so we're splitting the stuff up a little bit. You can blame Daryl for not being here. I'm going to be talking a little bit about the Hasbro Investor Preview event. This was where the Hasbro CEO, Brian Goldner, was going over basically kind of a state of the company and what's coming up. They're very pleased with Bumblebee, both financially and critically. And they did declare, in no uncertain terms, this is the start of a new cinematic universe. So Bumblebee is a reboot. If people disagree with you, they just don't understand English, I guess.
You win, Jeremy.
No new Transformers movies are on the current plan through 2021, at least that he was willing to talk about. But toy production for future movies begins 18 to 30 months prior, so there could be beginning discussions at least. On the animated side, they are making a brand new animated series exclusive to China that is being produced with help from China's Central Television, which is, I guess, the government-owned television. And that's because Bumblebee made $168 million in China. This series will also have an exclusive toy line. So it will be interesting to see. I'm sure pictures are going to get out once these are produced. It'll be interesting to see what's made, for that market in particular. Probably the biggest news out of all of this on the media side is there's a new Netflix series coming up, Transformers War for Cybertron, fitting in with the toy line, is going to have an animated series, and this is going to be produced by Rooster Teeth, which has produced a number of things. I know them mainly from the Red versus Blue series, which is featuring like the Halo characters, but I know they've done a lot better animation, and I've seen this actually described as an anime. Also, Polygon Pictures is on this, and they actually worked on Transformers Prime. So I have faith that this is not going to be another Machinima show. And we don't really know anything else about this. I would just imagine it's going to have similar themes from whatever we see in the comics. I mean, probably not followed exactly, but it's obviously going to use the toy designs. We'll have to see, where they go. But I'm excited for this. You guys have any thoughts on the new series?
Yeah, Rooster Teeth has done actually a number of shows. I think the latest one that they've not the latest one, but one of the other famous ones they've done is a show called Ruby. But you do need to be aware that you said it's not. You don't think it's going to be Machinima or not going to be like Machinima, but I think that it is actually going to be that. I don't think it's going to be like drawn anime.
No,
I'm
talking about quality-wise. 14 frames a second.
Oh, okay. I see what you mean.
I think the writing is going to be better, the acting is going to be better, and the animation is going to be better.
Okay. Yep. I'll agree with you on that.
I mean, it could be a 3D animation. I don't care. That's fine. I just want them to use more than 146 to render the video.
I do think it will actually be Machinima in terms of style, because that's kind of what Rooster Teeth is as a studio is famous for. I don't think they've actually done anything not Machinima in terms of style. And bear in mind, I'm using Machinima as the art style term, not Machinima as like the studio or anything like that. Not like the Machinima series that we got previously, but Machinima as the actual like art style where you're doing the animation in a game engine and then essentially filming it from there. Right. It is. I'm pretty certain it'll be that kind of style, which can work. It can work fine, and it might actually work out really well considering its Transformers and considering the subject matter. It is going to be that look, and if you aren't a fan of that look, that's still going to be the look. So you're not going to be able to get around that. I don't think. I've seen episodes of Ruby where it looks good, but you can still very much tell that it was built around like a game engine is built around that idea. But yeah, I do agree that I think Rooster Teeth certainly has a better reputation of quality, especially over anything that we've gotten so far with some like the Generations and the Prime Wars trilogy stuff that we've gotten.
Cool.
Good on them.
Yeah. And I'm assuming with Netflix that also comes a bigger budget. So
one would hope
they can buy another render computer.
Just 2 or 3 more, right?
I can't let go of that. The showrunner is F.J. DeSanto, and the writers, which I don't have right in front of me. I know Brandon Easton is one of them. He has done many TV series, including he worked on Agent Carter. He also did some comics, the What If Deviations book, like What If Optimus Prime Lived. He wrote that. Also, the writers are going to include George Christic, who has worked on Mega's XLR, and Gavin Hignite, who has worked on Transformers Cyberverse. And we'll have to see, but, I'm optimistic. Cyberverse has been really good. And Mega's XLR has always had high praise from what I've heard.
And F.J. DeSanto and George Christic both were, I think, writers / like they were the head writers on Titan's Return and Power of the Prime. So yeah. we get to see in this new show if it was Machinima or them who were driving the issues with the
From what I remember and what I have it blocked out from those series, the later series started turning around in quality on the writing side. The acting and the animation were still big problems, but I thought that particularly Power of the Primes, we weren't as critical on the writing as we were about the other aspects of the show. I mean, Combiner Wars was like a steaming pile, and they had, they had to fix a lot. So with starting from a blank slate, let's hope that they can just come out of the park and just do a great job. I mean,
they did give us asshole Megatron, and I appreciated asshole Megatron.
Yeah,
he was a high point.
And starting at pre-war, maybe we'll get another asshole Megatron.
Yeah, or I guess maybe we should call him sassy Megatron. I don't know.
Yeah, but anyway, I think the series is gonna, we'll see if it's like, Voltron level of quality in the writing, or I don't know what a bad Netflix show would be, but we've seen very bad Transformer shows. There's a wide range, so let's hope it's on the better end.
Little known fact that in Megas XLR, one of the episodes had two robots fighting, both voiced by Peter Cullen and Frank Welker.
Oh, that's cool.
Interesting.
Continuing on with media news, we have some more Bumblebee movie concept art. I'm not going to really go into a lot of these, but like we see another look at the Optimus Prime. We see Bumblebee's hands and some weapons. If you're into seeing this, we'll have a link here. You can look at all this art. We also have home release details for Bumblebee. It will be coming to digital on March 19th. Blu-ray and combo packs arrive April 2nd. And I got my Amazon shipping date confirmed today for that. So looking forward to seeing this. It will include extra stuff. Sector 7 specials. Agent Burns, Welcome to Sector 7. Starring John Cena, I'm sure. A motion comic with Sector 7. Some deleted outtakes, of course. Special on the robots of Cybertron. And then some kind of like bringing the movie, to the big screen, just, kind of behind the scenes stuff. So I'm interested in seeing that. I do hate how they're doing digital like a couple weeks before physical. Have you guys pre-ordered it, or are you going to buy the movie?
I probably will pick it up if I see it in Best Buy. I don't know if I'll pre-order it, though.
Yeah, same thing for me. It's not going to be a pre-order, but I'm sure I'll pick it up at some point this year.
All right. Moving on. If you are looking for a job and you work in the motion picture industry, Allspark Pictures is looking for a narrative director to lead development of their franchise brands, including Transformers, My Little Pony, Monopoly, and so on. This person will be responsible for developing voice worlds, high-level intellectual property direction, have to write characters and plots and dialogue and stuff. So basically, if you want to have your hand in developing all of these IPs for the big screen, you have a bachelor's degree in English, 7 years practical experience, apply. This is a good opportunity. That would be an amazing thing if that's your field.
Only if I can make the Monopoly movie.
Yeah, Mr. Moneybags in the big screen. Mike, I think you have some stuff on the trading card game.
I do. I actually have a ton of stuff on the trading card game because there's just been news after news dropping for this stuff. So let's start off with the companion app is being released to iOS and and Android. Now, this is just a companion app. This is not a mobile version of the game, which is unfortunate because that would actually be really cool if they did a mobile version of the game. So a lot more people could actually play this stuff. But the app is going to have, it's going to have ways to track your collection, build teams, and use the app to keep track of characters and damage during the actual tabletop version of the game. Essentially, it's things like damage trackers, life counters, stuff like that. Just some stuff so you don't have to remember things or write things down. The next part of this is more cards being announced for the Wave 2 Rise of the Combiner set. And it is Inferno Breath and Surprise Attack. Now, I recognize the artwork for Surprise Attack. It's RC and Galvatron, I think, probably from what's the series before Optimus Prime, the former Robots in Disguise series. I believe it's from one of those issues, but I do not
recognize Transformers.
Right. But I do not recognize the artwork from Inferno Breath. Charles, do you remember where this art came from?
Since that's Needle Nose and Sparkstalker, I'm going to guess this is around the time of the All Hail Optimus story arc when the Decepticons were trying to have another revolution and take over. Like they were following Galvatron at the time, and they like space bridged to Earth and then like attacked the Autobots shuttle.
Fair enough.
I see Blur in the background there. So maybe this is when they were still on Cybertron.
I do like how they're using actual comic art for a lot of these cards. That is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And the actual character cards seems to be a mix of the Livia Remondelli's kind of artwork for the robot modes, but it looks like especially a lot of the vehicle modes are getting new artwork for it, and that's always kind of neat. But yeah, these two images are just these two cards are just two of several that have been revealed in the last few weeks. This month has been killer for releases. Speaking of new cards, we have two new character cards, Dreadwind and Blackwing, and these two are going to be fairly unique in this setup. They are, I think it's the first two-part combiner. You can correct me if I'm wrong if anyone knows that there is another one out there, but I'm pretty sure that this is the first time we had a two-bot combiner. And they combine to form Dreadwing Sky Destroyer, which is an awesome name. They're going to function like the Triple Changer cards, where they have the bot, or they have two forms on one side, and then on the opposite side they'd have the other one. I think with the Triple Changers, I'm pretty certain they have both vehicle modes on one side and the robot form on the other. But on these guys here, they have the robot mode and jet mode, the single jet mode on one side, and then the half of the combined version on the backside. Let's see here. The last bit of trading card news we have is Omega Supreme. Now, a lot of people have been speculating that Omega Supreme was going to be coming out, and it was going to be kind of a Titan-sized card, very similar to how they dealt with Metroplex. But what a lot of people have not been thinking about is just how it's going to get released. And Omega Supreme, at least for the moment, is exclusive to Loot Crate. And unfortunately, it looks like the sign up for this month's has long since passed. It was looks like February 2nd. So you need to sign up to Loot Crate by February 2nd in order to get
it's not February 2nd. I think that date's wrong because that's past.
Right.
I think it was February 20th.
Yeah, I signed up for this already.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that would certainly be a whole lot better.
And
I'm just looking at the listing on here, and it says February 2nd. So yeah, that makes sense that it's an error. It doesn't make any sense
order it arrives between the 20th and 28th. So
Okay.
You have to order by the 19th.
How much? So you did order it. How much is the loot crate per month?
It is $19.99, but there was a code, I think Loot 50 or something
Love
like
50 because it was Valentine's Day.
For Valentine's Day, they gave me 50% off, so it cost me $12.
I getcha.
But you got to remember to cancel it
Yes.
after you get the loot crate. Cancel it because they're good. They make it a subscription where they charge you every month.
Definitely.
Yes,
You got
it is a monthly
But one
service.
of the points here on the Loot Crate site is canceling is easy, no phone calls required. So, I will test that out and let you know.
Let's hope you don't need to make a phone call to cancel it. That makes no
Who are you,
sense.
Comcast?
But yeah, so and this was one of those things that no one had really expected for it to be exclusive to essentially a subscription service. Now, granted, you can presumably cancel very easily, but in the end, a lot of people expected that it would be either just another Titan set that was released in stores, or kind of that road. Maybe at the worst, it would end up being like at a con or something like that. But it's very interesting that they went with Loot Crate this time, and it's gonna be interesting to see whether they release him either to mass markets or if they do a con exclusive at some point. Because I can't imagine that they would have him just as a Loot Crate only for like the entire production run. What are your thoughts on that? Agree? You disagree?
Yeah, I hope so. But I mean, a lot of the hardcore card collectors were grumbling about that. Like, this is not making it easy for those completionists out there.
Certainly
it will
not.
Definitely be interesting to look at eBay prices for this card.
It's going to jump pretty quick, I think. A nice sharp spike, and then it'll probably trail off a little bit. But yeah, so there's been a ton of releases for Wave 2 over here. So it looks like, at least for now, everything is pretty healthy and pretty good for this line. Let's hope it continues. Now, you guys, I believe you guys had told me you had not had the chance to play yet.
Nope.
No, I have some cards, but I have not had a chance to play a game yet.
Don't feel too bad. I've only had the chance to play like 2 games myself, so it's one of those things where it's hard to find people to play against unless you have a community around you that is into it. So I will say that from the limited experience that I did have with it, that it was pretty fun, pretty easy to learn, pretty intuitive to pick up, and yeah, so a good game and a fun time. So hopefully it continues to remain as strong as it is right now for the foreseeable future. So that is what we have for the trading card game, but we have one other bit of news on games, and that is video game developer Certain Affinity is developing a new game that is tentatively named Transformers Online. They had gotten the license back in mid-2017, and although details are very, very light, it is confirmed to be a third-party shooter, very much like Fortnite or the War and Fall of Cybertron games. Now, my speculation on this, and feel free to jump in anytime on this, guys, is that it's going to be a third-person shooter, online only. It's going to be very, very light on either very light or completely avoiding any kind of like player versus environment or just like a single-player mode kind of thing. It is very much just going to be kind of a competitive shooter. Do you guys disagree?
Unfortunately, I think I agree. Being named Transformers Online, that's probably they're probably trying to jump on the whole Fortnite bandwagon, and that I don't like that because I suck at online multiplayer games, so I would much prefer the story.
Same here.
Like the story for Fall of Cybertron, I really liked. I would prefer not play against teenagers that would kick my butt because I don't think that's fun.
teenagers who have nothing better to do except play the game and get good at it, so they can kick your butt. I do agree that I really did enjoy War for Cybertron and Fall of Cybertron. I enjoyed them for the single player mode more than anything else.
I don't think I played the multiplayer mode in Fall of Cybertron more than like 5 or 6 times.
Yeah, maybe I think I did it once or twice. What about you, Charles? Have you played any games like Fortnite or any kind of online multiplayer shooters like that?
Yeah, I am not the shooter guy here. So I did enjoy Fall of Cybertron. They got me with it just being Transformers. If it looks nice, I might try it out, but I have not tried Fortnite or any other battle royale game. But, this is a kind of a trend in the video game industry. Anything that's popular has to be endlessly copied. So here's the Transformers version.
That is very true. There's potential for the transforming mechanism within the game to be really interesting and really cool. I mean, imagine turning into like a car or something like that and just racing across the battlefield, turning into a jet or a helicopter, doing the same, turning into a tank and just rolling over everyone. It could be very fun and it could be very entertaining. But I wish that there was. I hope that there's going to be more to it than just the online multiplayer for it. But we'll see when it comes out. If they started work, the article here doesn't say when they actually started work on it. Actually, no, I'm sorry. They started work back in mid 2017 to late 2017. So we are looking probably at a release date either end of this year or beginning of 2020. Just thinking about the typical release cycle for games. So by the end of this year, early next year, we should see what this is going to be like. And I'm sure that by the middle of this year, we'll start to see in-game footage and trailers and stuff for it as well to get the hype train going. So a lot of just wait and see on this one. All right, and that is it for gaming news. Charles, you have something else?
Yes, so in the animated show front, so we already talked about the Netflix animated show, but there's another animated show out there that's Transformers Cyberverse, and we got a teaser video of season 2 of Cyberverse, which will be coming later this year. It's being called Power of the Spark, and in this teaser video, we see Cheetor. So that's a bit surprising. So we didn't see any Cheetor toys at Toy Fair, but the character is in the show, so I imagine a toy won't be far behind. But he does look very much like his original Beast Wars version. So will there be more Beast Formers in the Cyberverse show? But it does look like he is a protector of the Allspark in the show. So I'm curious how that all fits together. But it looks like Cyberverse Season 2 looks to be more of a straightforward show. Bumblebee is going to be talking. We've got all the Autobots and Decepticons there. Hopefully it's the focus will expand and it'll become more of a traditional Transformers show, rather than like the tight focus on Bumblebee and Windblade that we had in the first season.
This does mention like the armor from the toys that we saw, and it kind of explains that like the boats are specifically to battle Sharkticon, jetpacks to take on Seekers, with Sharkticons and the Skybite toy. Let's have a crazy shark that reads poetry.
Who doesn't love Skybite? Yeah, so look forward to that. That's still a few months away, but I guess that'll be here before the Netflix series starts. So that's the next animated cartoon for Transformers on the horizon.
Fall 2019, still on Cartoon Network.
Still at 6:30 a.m. in the morning, probably.
I'm hoping still on YouTube.
Yeah, that's true. All right, and that is the end of media news. So let's move on to some convention news.
All right. We have some TFCon announcements. G1 writer Bryce Malik is going to be attending. He was a writer and story editor on G1, and he will be taking part in panels and autograph sessions, looks like throughout the weekend. So I'm not sure if I've seen him at a convention before. It would be nice to see videos or notes of some of his panels. Also attending, Clive Revel, who is the voice of Kickback from G1. He will be taking part in autograph sessions on Saturday. So if you want to get an autograph from him, make sure you check the schedule on the TFCon site. In New Zealand, there is a convention called Armageddon, or specifically, I think, Wellington Armageddon. It is April 13th through 15th at Westpac Stadium. Andrew Griffith will be there. This is first time in New Zealand for this convention. Nice to see him in that part of the world. I know he's been to Japan a number of times and, other places. So nice that New Zealand gets there, gets to meet Andrew. And I don't see anything here about panels, but I mean, he's probably going to have commissions and have a table set up. And one last thing here, C2E2 is coming up, as I've mentioned in the past, and they've released more of their schedules, and I was just digging through who's going to be there in Artist Alley, and specifically relating to our show. And Alex Milne is listed as being here, booth F1. Tyler Kirkham, who worked on New Avengers Transformers, booth K1, and Colin Bunn, who worked on the Revolution series, booth 09. And C2E2 is March 22nd through 24th in Chicago. So, I'm looking forward to going and meeting some of these people. And I have to look through my long boxes and see if I have the New Avengers series, but I don't think I do. But anyway, that is it for convention news.
All right, and that'll do it for this episode of Transmissions Alt Mode. Thanks, everyone, for listening, and thanks, Mike, for joining us this week.
Yeah, no problems.
And we will see you all next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Later.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening to this episode of Transmissions. But just because this episode is over doesn't mean the Transformers fun has to stop. Join us and other Transformers fans on our Discord chat server by visiting transmissionspodcast.com/discord. If you would like to learn more about how you could support the Transmissions Podcast, just visit transmissionspodcast.com/support. Thank you all for listening, and we'll see you again next week.
Okay, I recorded.
I am recording.
Oh, are we supposed to record? No, I'm just kidding. It's fine.
Now recording.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, challenge accepted. Oh.
All right, so you said when we start recording, I need to hit Alt F4. Is that the key that we need to do? For those of you following along at home, Jeremy is now clicking on several links and trying to find out.
I was typing. Okay, so...
And I think that is it for media news.
Oh, wait, no, there's one last thing.
Nope, I'm wrong. Are you, who's doing it? Are you doing it, Charles?
I'll take it, sure. It's, in addition to the...
Let me throw it to you so it's...
Oh, okay.
I have an easier time.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.